All right, welcome back to Reds Country Radio. It is sweep season in Reds Country. Apparently, we got our first sweep of the first winning sweep of the season and our first losing sweep of the season. I'm Donnie. We got Steve. We got Rob. What's up, boys?
The vibes aren't very good right now, Don, for me personally, but we're hanging in there. Trying my best not to overreact, but yeah, this tough stretch of the last 3 games the Reds had.
Yeah, I just did some back with the paper record math, like my ancestor sports radio host would do, and like Lance McAllister would probably do. It's not pretty for this offense right now. I can't really pin it all on the pitching right now. The offense has just kind of not been great. So we'll get into it though.
So, Steve, real quick, just on this last series here with the Seattle Mariners, where we were swept and the offense looked anemic the entire series. We scored 5 runs across 3 games. Is that right? Yeah. How much credit do you give to Seattle starting pitching? Because they were lights out, and they're guys that it's been lights out. It's not like one of those fluky things where the Pirates are mowing us down with a guy who's 2-9 on the season. George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, and Bryce Miller are all having. If they're not having great seasons yet, they're going to get there. Those are all really good pitchers.
Yeah, no, I am giving full credit to the pitchers, of course. Like they definitely diced us up, but it felt like in situations where the Reds had winning baseball to play, they played losing baseball, getting thrown out on the bases, even against Julio Rodriguez, who people don't realize. Like we retweeted a Doug Gray tweet this morning. Shout out to him. We don't usually come across him on these Twitter streets, but you realize after a while that a lot of people just watch their team and don't watch the rest of baseball. I think that's more of a baseball thing than in other sports, but like y'all have not seen Julio Rodriguez play if you're mad at Elly for like running there. Like, I mean, I guess in the situation, keep your man on second and just keep the rally going. But I don't want to get into Elly's head that he needs to like stop. Like, I just want him to focus on running as fast as he can. And it literally took an absolute strike and a weird position by the third baseman to get tagged out. But there's a couple times where, yeah, like I said, getting thrown out on the base pass, getting unlucky with your hard hit balls. I also think too that just when we face good pitchers, I'll wait until after the series recap because I got some whoppers for you, boys. It's tough, but I just don't think we have enough veterans right now to really combat some good pitchers with just what we've got a lot of young guys right now. And this season, while I definitely have expectations for the guys, I think it's not also unkind to say that it was going to be a learning season either way. And we were hoping that just the talent that our young guys have would just paper over some of those cracks of youth and inexperience. But right now it seems like that youth and experience, and at least from the offensive side, is kind of winning out. And also apparently we are 2-10 in T-Mobile Park since that building opened. So we're not very good there. We only have wins in 2007 and 2019, and we've played 4 series there now. So kind of a sneaky house of horrors as well.
No doubt. I kind of thought that the lack of success that the Reds have had playing on the West Coast as long as we've been alive, really, I always just kind of assumed that would apply to the National League parks in Southern California, but no, that apparently carries over to the American League parks in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, it seems like we never do too well going out there. It's interesting how much of a contrast this series was from the White Sox series, where pitching looked great. We were hitting well. We scored 27 runs across 3 games rather than 5. 5 was the minimum we had in any of those games, and that's all we got in this series. We were striking out a lot more and walking a lot less in this series too. Some of that, seems a little fluky. There were some bad calls that went our way. They went against us. There were some fluky things that happened overall in this series, but I feel like when you start blaming things like that, when you start blaming bad calls or like oh, Elly shouldn't have gone there, or we shouldn't have made that throw, or Mally's got to catch that throw from Elly, to get that guy at the plate. When you're starting to blame those kind of things, the real answer to me is, well, we should have just played better overall, and it shouldn't have come down to those things. The offense scoring 5 runs really doesn't change much if one or two of those other plays go our way, or Mally leaves Hunter Green out there for one more inning, or whatever else. Or sorry, if David Bell leaves Hunter Green out there for one more inning, random things like that. The answer is just you got to score more runs, and right now the offense isn't getting it done.
Yeah. So let's talk about that offense real quick. I did some real sports radio talk host math with my MLB app and just the standings. So
let's go, Steve.
Let's start with the most analytically forward of the MLB app stats that they provided, WHIP. I think you guys maybe will pick apart like the rest just because we're 18 games in, not a big enough sample size, but early on, the Reds, any pitcher, I picked these 5 stats out: WHIP, ERA, batting average, strikeouts, and home runs. And if a pitching staff is rated near the top, that means they're pretty good at pitching. They're not really allowing a lot of those things to happen. The Reds have faced a few different teams that are above average in those categories, and they have a losing record in each of those against all of those teams. For example, WHIP, they've played teams that are ranked between number 2 overall in WHIP and number 12, 4-8 against those teams. They've played 2 teams who are numbers 25 and 27 in WHIP, 5-1. You can guess that would be the Nationals and the White Sox. ERA, they've played teams 6 through 13, 4-8 in those games. 21 and 24, also the White Sox and the Nationals, 5-1. Batting average against, they've played 3 teams ranked 3 through 10, 3-6 against those teams. And right now, the Reds are 9-9 overall. So you can just point out, though, like when they face a good pitching staff and when they get neutralized, they are just not very good. Like that 4-8 record against teams with a WHIP of above average, not great. Not ideal, and you're not going to play a bunch of shitty teams. I mean, we get the Angels this weekend, praise be. But and maybe the Angels aren't that bad either. They just had a bad start, but it's just part of a young team, man. And Donnie, like, I get what you're saying. The game shouldn't come down to those things, but when you have a young team that is not producing, like I think that's why the fans were upset by those small things, is that you have only so many chances when your offense is not really producing that much. And like those chances get more amplified when you get thrown out. I mean, I'm sure we had runners get thrown out last year in games we won by 6, 7, 8 runs, so obviously the same mistake happens in those games, but I think it's just the simple thing of they get amplified more when your offense isn't doing as much.
You have a finite amount of chances to push runs across the board, and you can't do it.
Yeah, baseball is such a game of momentum and like building on things that go your way. And if the team is feeling more confident, it can literally make them hit better. And of course, yes. Yeah, so that's such situations like Elly's or just getting thrown out on the base pass in general. In the game of baseball, it really does make a huge difference between having a runner on second and 1 out versus having no runners on and 2 outs, or 3 even. That's it. You're right there that it does make a difference. Overall, I still think we need to play better. And listening to you talk about some of those stats, it honestly makes me think of some of the like Cincinnati Bearcats basketball teams or something where you beat the teams you're supposed to beat, you lose against every ranked or pretty good team you play. It's not really a recipe for success. It's a recipe for frustration, for feeling like you're pretty good because you do dominate really bad teams. And I wonder too if that's a factor of not having very many veterans. These guys are crazy talented. We know that. The like physical talents and the skill at playing the game of baseball is there, and it comes out when you play the Nationals and the White Sox. But good teams are going to find your weaknesses, and these players aren't quite experienced enough to know how to really adapt to those better teams. They have the talent to beat them. It's all about kind of putting it together. Does that theory kind of make any sense?
Well, and the other thing I've thought too about this season, and we've seen it this year and last year with how we've played against the Brewers. I know I don't really fear the Brewers, except for they just seem to like sit on us when they get a lead, and like their pitching is just kind of neutralizes our offense. Same with we've played the Mets, who are just Brewers East now, and the Mariners, who their whole goal this year is to cut down on walks and get strikeouts. Like it's just kind of what these teams are doing to a young team is really hurting us. Like we got a lot of guys with a lot of strikeouts right now. We have guys who just they're either not getting their right pitch early in the at bat, like Jonathan India, or they're getting their right pitch late in the at bat and they're swinging through it and striking out. It is just kind of a young guy thing to me because, obviously we saw how many times last year when the Reds would, be, have a Luke Weaver start, get down by 5, and then just say, fuck it, let's go score 10. It's possible. We've seen them do it, and I'm not saying like
at least cycle game, just like that.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the exact example that I was thinking of. Like they can take care of a bad pitcher, and I think like I'm not saying that Joe Ross or Wade Miley, like shout out Wade, but I don't know if 2024 version of Wade Miley is a great pitcher, same on the same level as the 3 guys you just faced in Seattle, but it is at least a cause of concern right now that they are not able to get to some of these staffs that really prioritize pitching. And they got to Zach Wheeler, so I don't know. Baseball is funny like that, but it's just a thing where I think having guys like Candelario is nice to have, but it's just going to be a learning process this year. They're going to have to figure out ways to work counts, really get into at bats, really try to find their, just winning pitches and try to really like pitch selection these guys, these other teams, and figure out where they can't get neutralized by a half decent pitcher. Because obviously at the end of the year, it's all good pitchers. Like no playoff team is thrown out a scrub except for Patrick Corbin. But other than that, like you got a bunch of good dudes on the mound in October. You're going to have to figure out a way to get to them.
Yeah, and you mentioned Candelario. It doesn't really help that he's not playing well lately and wasn't even in the lineup today. And you're running a guy like Santiago Espinal out there, and Stuart Fairchild's getting more starts. We really need TJ Friedel back. We talked at the beginning of the season like we were just barely had a good enough roster to hang on. I said let's go 500 in the first month. We're still on track for that. But when we're dealing with illness right now. We got a couple guys that are a little banged up maybe, and then when 1 or 2 guys start slumping, and there's really nowhere to go. So I'll be happy to have some guys back. Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say there.
Yeah, I think you might be in a little bit of trouble if you have Stuart Fairchild batting 3rd in your lineup like they did today or Wednesday as you're listening.
Yep. Yeah. So it's just going to be a thing. Young team, they're going to have to figure it out. It's a good thing that we had that much depth, because imagine if we didn't have, or if we traded away some of those guys and didn't have the depth, like this team would be on pins and needles right now. But I think sky can be falling right now, and we're still 9-9. Like, you're still in the thick of it.
Yeah.
We've put the kibosh, by the way, for the listeners, on hard and easy months, because we've learned through our collective experience that there is no such thing on either end, because we've gotten burned by the easy month thing 2 straight competitive years in a row. So we're not going to talk about those anymore. I put that out of my vocabulary. But
good man.
I'm trying, at least, Don. I'm trying to be open-minded. I'm trying to learn.
I will say though, if this series was anything like it's going to be, the Reds start playing tough teams, they're in one hell of a May. It's going to be potentially brutal.
Yep.
I'm not trying to be like a Debbie Downer by any means, but that's just kind of the way it's shaping up right now.
Well, Rob, in the month of May, we're going to have TJ Friedel back, hopefully.
That's true.
I think that's a big boost there. You're going to have Nick Lodolo back in the. He's in the rotation now. He looked great. We're getting some slight upgrades here and there. We're going to get a couple relievers back, maybe, and I don't even know if there's room for them. But the depth is there when we need to call guys up, even just for innings purposes. I think this team is going to start turning a corner a little bit. Offense is always a slow start. That's across the league too. That's another thing that fans don't necessarily realize. You see the highlight plays of the guys that do hit a couple big home runs early in the season, or like one or two guys that's hot. But every team starts slow on offense. That's very normal. We've had some flash in the pan, series that play really well. I think it's all going to come together. I'm not going to say that I'm not worried about, the month of May or some hard matchups, but I think this team is on its way. And again, it's the regional nature of baseball that you don't realize that every team is dealing with this, at some of those clowns in our Twitter replies too. Like every team complains about their manager that, they're doing the best they can with the information they have. And Steve, I don't know how many times we're going to say it, but our fan base is just not built for 162, man.
No,
a lot of games.
We're going to have to tweet this clip out. Hey, we were 18 games into a 162 game season. Like, we got to just evaluate some things, enjoy a couple things outside of maybe watch another game, maybe watch another team like on an off day tomorrow. Like, watch the damn Colorado Rockies tomorrow, and you're like, oh man, they are bad. Like, you saw the White Sox this weekend; they are not very good. I think things could be certainly a lot worse. And you're not. I looked at our record after 18 games last year, 7-11. So right there, right on that line, pretty similar. And Don, you said it. You just got to get through April 500, and we've not had the traditionally slow start that some Reds teams have had recently. We've held our heads above water. I think if we can continue to win some more home games, we'll talk about the next couple series later on in the show, but you've got some chances to really, get back into this thing, get back home after a West Coast trip, and get back into this. I think that also the other thing too is that early season cold baseball, like the stats should be thrown out of the window because there was a couple balls that the Reds hit that just died on the track, or Julio Rodriguez just made amazing. Like that dude, guys,
he's legit. He's a stud, dude.
He's amazing. Like I knew
if he played for the Reds, he'd be my favorite player. Like that's how good of a player he is. Like
don't tell Will Benson.
Well,
but I do think that we got to have more people. We appreciate you watching the Reds, but you should definitely watch some more baseball as well. It's one of my favorite things about having the MLB TV subscription is, I'll just turn on a game during, if there's a game during the day, I like just having it on in the background because it's good to see what other teams are doing and how other teams are trying to win. I think the Reds' problem right now is that these pitching forward teams, or teams who are placing a lot of their priority and have pretty good systems and have good pitching. I don't know if the Mets are considered really good pitching, but they kind of have that same philosophy now that the Brewers have. Now that they have the Brewers' old president of baseball operations is just to get a lead and then just throw a bunch of just dudes with absolute junk out of your bullpen. And you just can't do much with that. And I will say too, the Reds loaded the bases down by 2 in the 9th inning last night. And it was just, Tyler Stevenson with the game on the, at the plate, he did hit a good ball, hit it right to Rodriguez, but they don't quit and they're not going to quit. And I am still just happy to watch a team that, they could be down by 6 in the 7th inning and they're not going to just give up and say, we'll come back tomorrow. They're still going to try and make a game out of it.
Yeah, I love that. Steve, I'm not going to lie to you. Having gone to bed around 11 o'clock last night, I did not even know that happened. So I'm making a habit now of the last couple of nights, just waking up at 2:30 a.m., just kind of naturally after a sleep cycle or whatever, and checking my phone. And I saw that amazing catch by Elly, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I'll try to remember that in the morning. Yeah. And, the West Coast trips are lucky, and that's good. We've got our West Coast correspondent out there, Steve. So speaking of, though, I think I just got invited to this conference out in the Los Angeles area in June. And the Dodgers are in town. The Reds, of course, are not on the West Coast. That would be cool. But the Dodgers are playing home games, and I think I'm going to try to go.
You should
Hey,
definitely go, Don. As someone who's been to Dodger Stadium, it's worth it.
Yeah, I've
Probably-
never been.
It's probably the coolest stadium I've been to so far, I think, truthfully. So
Considering you and I have gone to a game at Petco Park in San Diego, Rob, that's a big compliment to put Dodger Stadium ahead of that.
yeah, you can feel the history inside that building, man. When you walk in there, you can it's palpable.
Nice. So I'll enjoy watching another team stress-free game. But in general, yeah, Reds fans could take maybe a page out of that book and just breathe a little. We're gonna be all right. We've avoided injury for the most part, really, like during the season so far. I think that's good, even if we've had some weird lineups and we still need some guys back. But yeah, pitching, I think having Lodolo back is huge. He looked amazing in his first start. I'm a little worried about, for one, Hunter Green getting his pitch count down. He's got to figure something out there. And Frankie Montas, for as good as he looked in his first couple starts, has not looked great in his last two. Are we worried about Frankie Montas at all? Or Montas, sorry.
I think I am a little bit just. No, I don't have any like stats to back this up or anything, but like just looking at it, like especially this last start he made, he got chased after like 2 innings or whatever. He didn't really have a whole lot of command on his pitches, but like he wasn't missing like erratically, like he wasn't all over the place. Like his pitches were just like a ball length like outside the zone, and like he was just missing the strike zone, but he wasn't being like erratic or anything. His pitches had a lot of movement on it seemed like, but he just couldn't throw them where he wanted to throw them. Then obviously Hunter Green coming in, we all know what he can do. He can throw 100 plus. Getting 8 strikeouts ever is really cool, but you got to get out of the 4th inning.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Green last night. I just checked out Frankie Montas's baseball Savant page, and I'll just share the screen, and we'll just just enjoy this all together because oh boy. All right, I'm sharing the screen now. A little bit too much
blue.
Yeah, little bit too much blue there for my liking.
That's the full season, even including his first couple starts were great.
Yeah. So maybe it just got tanked by what he did on Monday night, but I don't know. Not great at least. While we're here, let's look up Hunter Green. But I am a little bit concerned after seeing that page. And then Hunter Green, I'm not concerned about. Look at all the red. I like the red.
I was listening. Yeah, Hunter Green's underlying statistics his baseball Savant stuff is great. His velocity is chase rate, whiff rate, K rate. All the things that you can control. I'll say the actual outcomes you can't always control. And maybe Frankie Montas had a couple starts where he got lucky with some BABIP luck, call it, and the underlying data there, we'll see. It's still only been a few starts, but hey, he's our ace for now, Frankie Montas. So
yeah. So the thing with Frankie Montas, and we'll go back to it. He's about middle of the pack on chase rate, low whiff rate, low K rate, low walk. A blue walk rate, which is not great either.
Which is bad.
And his best metric is his hard hit rate, about 57%. So hopefully he's able to just find a way to miss bats. But I can see him maybe getting pushed down in the rotation. But that is pretty just like surprising to see that it's that bad after his first 2 like pretty decent starts. And
what does Andrew Abbott's look like? Can we pull that up, Steve?
Let's go see. Yeah. I don't know if it'll be live with today's stuff, but wow, very low chase percentage and whiff percentage. And he's not a strikeout pitcher, but low strikeout percentage. Pretty good at avoiding hard hit balls. And he's got positive values on his breaking and off speed pitches. So, and then the other thing too is the XBA expected batting average is about 235, which I think is fine.
First starter, yeah.
Right average right there, where Frankie Montas's was a little bit higher. What do you see? What do you take from this, Don?
I don't know these pages that well, but my guess here is that it screens more that he's a pitch to contact guy. which dangerous in Great American. But if you're pitching to contact and getting good ground balls or getting you're just not getting hard hits, that works too. And the big thing there though is he can pitch deeper into games. Hunter Green has talked all he wants. He said it again after his last press conference. I'm trying to pitch deeper into games. I need to be better. I need to pick up the bullpen. But you got to figure out a way to actually do that. And his approach of trying to strike out every guy, and man, he had like 3 or 4 batters in a row that he took full and didn't put away 3 of them. Like you got to figure out a way to get out of guys quicker. It's just, and to do that, you got to be okay with not getting swing and misses on every single pitch.
Well, and I still think he's young. I still think he's figuring it out. And just Brantley talked about this on the Brantley's had a great series on the mic, by the way. I really enjoyed listening to him.
Oh yeah.
He talked about just Hunter Green just does not have many innings in general, and he's still a younger guy. I know people don't really want to give either him or Elly that just because they're professional ball players, but like we're only 5 years older than these guys, and we know what we were like 5 years ago. So like I just it's still just a mental game, and they're still figuring it out. These guys are young, and that's how the Reds are going to have to win, is by using these young guys to really do something more than what they would usually be asked to if they were just sprinkled in with some veterans. Like, and that's you're hoping for the highs, but there might be some lows within that. So, Don, I do want to talk about Nick Lodolo real quick, and I'm going to pull up his pitching page because I am interested to see. Not qualified yet, dummy. What are you doing? But so I will say though that I really liked what I saw from him on Saturday. He had a no-hitter going into the 6th inning. Looked like vintage Lodolo. That backdoor breaking ball was really just it was hitting guys' feet again, which I like to see. I was really a fan of what I saw from him.
Yeah, quick stats, Steve. 5 2/3 innings pitched, 1 hit, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts.
That's pretty damn good. That's awesome, man. We missed that for most of the with the injury last year, and it's so good to have him back, and hopefully he can stay healthy. Fingers crossed there. Man, I know we felt pretty good about this rotation. We thought about especially as a good lefty, could he be a guy that we push to the bullpen? Man, I'm glad he's in our rotation, especially with a little bit of uncertainty now. It's nice to have him there. Good lefty arm, and he's got the swing and miss stuff too. So he was pretty good at being efficient in his first start. They were never going to throw him too deep in your first start back. But that's another thing to watch, though. I don't want him throwing 110 pitches a game. That's certainly not going to help your injury risk. So, man, he's a fun pitcher to watch, though. And I think, man, just those lefties, that breaking ball, it's like addicting to watch, man. The clips just kill me with all the pitching ninja stuff and whatnot. And I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Just the Randy Johnson of him.
Yeah.
It's just like I love it, man.
I think Chris Sale is a pretty decent comp as far as their motion.
Yeah, those two, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's just that he came out looking like that first start.
Right.
You don't expect dudes to just like come out just blowing smoke their first start, and he looked just great. I mean, it was the White Sox, so maybe we should add a caveat for that. But he's going to pitch this weekend against the Angels. I'm really excited to see what he does.
Steve, just to check all the boxes, what does Graham Ashcraft's Baseball Savant page look like?
Let's go ahead and check that out.
Graham.
What do you guys think of? I mean, he had a decent start on Sunday against the White Sox. He kind of got shelled, albeit against a different lineup last year against them. And I'm interested to see what his Savant looks like. But okay, he's about. So for Don, when you want to take us through it for the listeners.
Yeah, he's got a really high walk avoidance rate, a pretty high K rate, high whiff rate. Average exit velocity ranks a little low, so he does give up. Yeah, and his hard hit is low. So when he gives up I feel like that tracks with experience. Like he gives up the occasional homer, he gives up a couple doubles here and there. He strikes out a lot of guys, and people are going to put the ball in play against him, and we definitely feel like we have occasions where he ends up, there's runners on base and he gets out of it, and you get a big scream or a fist bump out of him. It kind of tracks with my experience watching him. Expected ERA is strong. He's a fun pitcher, and I think the underlying stats there screen a little better than the average Chris Clemmer of the world might think. Graham Ashcraft doesn't get a lot of respect out in the baseball landscape, but man, I think he's a candidate for a guy that you could get a nice extension on pretty cheaply.
Yeah. I just like watching him pitch. He's just a bulldog.
Yeah,
like, I'm just a big fan of what he does.
I did just talk up lefties, but he is a righty who I love watching pitch. He's just a fun guy. He really feels like he's not really overthrowing. He's not a total wild card. He feels like he has a plan there, but it's fun to watch him just attack hitters. It feels very intentional with everything he's doing.
Yeah, really enjoy watching him. Barstool Carl told me himself that Graham Ashcraft is a bulldog, and I've really always enjoyed that thought from him. Rob, have you noticed that he's throwing like he can ratchet it up to 98, 99? Like when he
I saw that his last start, he had a little bit left in the tank, like it was the 5th or 6th inning.
Yeah, like Don, is that normal?
He hit 100 in one of his starts this year, I believe.
Yeah.
No, I did not realize he had that in his bag. That was impressive.
Yeah,
I don't think he needs that. He doesn't need to be Hunter Green, throw 100 every single fastball. But to have that there and to sit, 96, 97, I'll take that.
He's just a competitor, man. He's a bulldog.
Yeah.
I really enjoy watching him pitch. And I think something that, he gets the benefit of the doubt of that Hunter doesn't all the time is that he didn't have those expectations. Same with Abbott,
right.
Same with Lodolo. Well, Lodolo was our first round pick, so maybe he had some more expectations. But I kind of just think that, I want to get back to Hunter for just a second. One of our repliers had an actually sentient take that I enjoyed. While he's had 12 of his 50 starts that have been 4 innings or less, which I think is a thing, right? It's definitely not great, but he's also has the most strikeouts out of 50 starts of anyone in Reds history. And I just wonder as a franchise if we're just not used to what a young, good pitcher looks like. Sadok brought it up on the broadcast. Their comparisons, his comparison to Johnny Cueto through 50 starts is pretty similar. And I think Cueto is obviously more of like that pitch avoid, like that bad avoidance type of pitcher who was looking to try and fool hitters, mess with timing, where Hunter Green is just trying to blow you with smoke. But I've really enjoyed what he did with his slider, what he's doing with the slider. And once he gets that curveball working, I don't think he trusts it right now, but once it gets a little bit hotter outside and he gets the curveball working, I feel like Hunter Green can be even more effective because I put out the edict, no slander on our page for Hunter Green. I do think that he's shown glimpses of brilliance for us this year. And I think it's just eventually learning as a pitcher and trying to get better.
Steve, fans get furious when you try to mention the fact that Johnny Cueto and Barry Larkin, with regards to Elly, also struggled when they were in their first and second years in the bigs. They really don't like that, Steve. You got to be careful.
They hate it.
I like touching on nerves, if you haven't noticed by some of the tenor tweets this year. But if you're with us, that's okay. We're still cheering for the same team.
It's a fun line to balance between being the face of optimism, which again, with all the negativity out there, is not always that difficult. And poking fun at people when they're just a little irrational and hey man, why don't you go take a walk? Touch some grass for once.
That's one of my favorite tweets from last year. Is like, hey, let's all just go touch some grass today. We'll come back tomorrow.
Yeah. Hey, back to the offense. Let's give our man some props here. Elly Electric, who we've been mentioning a little bit here and there, he's turned it on. And for as poor as the offense played in this last series, Elly had some few bright spots there with the home run, and he had a great series with the White Sox. And really, ever since, I feel like we got to peak pessimism. That's in the finance world, in my industry, in investing, if people are as negative as you possibly think, that's a great time to buy stock, because it probably won't get lower, and everyone thinking that the world's going to end, that's probably a good time that it's time to buy. And when all the normies on Twitter that don't really know what they're talking about are saying that this guy sucks, and all the poor fielding and maybe getting thrown out on the base pass is not worth it, his K rates through the roof. That was right when he turned the corner, and he has been one of the hottest players in baseball since then, and it's been super fun to watch.
He's the first player in baseball this year to 5 home runs and 5 steals. So I kind of like what what we all put a bet on this year. I'm a big fan of that. I don't want to continue saying it to jinx it, but I think a comp for him, that's interesting to me is, people were like kind of putting his numbers against Acuna's number. Yeah. Well, O'Neill Cruz, that's going to be the consistent war between Pirates and Reds fans. But I kind of want to compare Elly to Acuna this year and see what he does, because Acuna kind of stirs the drink for the Braves offense, and they have a lot of boppers around him, so they eventually got better. But it's kind of like what the Braves did 5 years ago, the Reds are trying to do now. Like, they've got a lot of young guys and they're centering it around 2 guys. I mean, I don't think McLean and Elly are a perfect comp for Acuna and Albies, but it's the same idea, right? You're trying to build your offense around 2 studs who can do everything on the baseball field. And I really want to see what Elly can do just in a full season. He's had some definitely some moments of brilliance, some moments where he's been down, like that running catch he made on Monday night, like you talked about, Don. Like, there's no other shortstop that's making that play. Like, he's just naturally gifted and athletic. I really enjoy just seeing him do stuff that I've never seen anyone else do before from the shortstop position, and just the natural fact that he enjoys running the most. We haven't recorded, obviously, since he hit the inside the Parker against the Brewers. Yeah. Just watching that clip, because I didn't get to see it live. Like, somebody said, quote tweeted and said, I knew when Frelick missed the ball in center that Elly was going to score. I was like, I mean, you're probably not wrong. Like, I didn't really think that, but he is just so much fun to watch. And the at bat before that, he hit one off the damn riverboat. Like, I kind of just like to watch Elly and just be like, just let like my expectations just fly, just have none, and just let him surprise me. Like, maybe I'm like the normie, like happy-go-lucky guy with Elly, and maybe I should be more hardened, because that's what everybody else on Reds Twitter seems to be, is like negative and hardened. But what about you guys? Like, that's just kind of my thought on how I like to view Elly.
I've noticed that Elly's kind of taken a little more of a patient approach to the plate the last couple of games. He's drawn a few more walks than he has start the season out. The power's there, obviously. Speed's there. Speed does not slump. It's one of my favorite baseball sayings that I recently learned. Speed doesn't slump. He's going to continue to get better. It's just a matter of time at this point, man.
You talk about that inside the park home run, and I was so disappointed, really, that with how well the Mariners pitchers were pitching, and I really do credit to that more than us slumping. Considering we just were hitting really well before that. I would have loved to see what Elly could do in that massive ballpark at the Mariners. Hit a few doubles down the line that turned into triples, that turned into home runs. Like, I bet you that is not the last inside the Parker we'll see just this year. Probably see a bunch of triples. He is a fun player to watch. And, whether he's hot, whether he's cold, if I'm watching the game and I'm dicking around on my phone a little bit, I stop everything I'm doing when Elly comes on, and I give it my full attention, because you don't want to miss those moments, Steve, like you're saying, where he just does something that no one else does. He hits the ball just into orbit. He'll do something crazy on the base pass. He has my full attention, and I'm glad he's on the Cincinnati Reds.
As of right now, he leads the team with runs scored with 16, and he's trailing Spencer Steer for the team lead in hits. Steer has 19, and Elly has 18. But Elly also leads the team in home runs with 5. It looks like Steer leads every other category, the major offensive category as of right now, 18 games into it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
I really like what Steer was doing before this weekend too, but man, he kind of just got unlucky this week in Seattle. Sorry.
Yeah. Seemed like he couldn't buy a hit. Like every hard hit ball he had was like right to an outfielder, right to an infielder. Like the dude just couldn't get it going.
yeah, and to have a stretch at any point in the season when you're batting like 450, there's a little luck involved there, and that's going to balance out sometimes. So I'm not too worried about him. But I do want to touch on Spencer Steer a little bit in relation to the lineup. The other thing people love to complain about, we had an interesting lineup today. It is what it is. But for the first basically 2 weeks of the season, Spencer Steer batted at like basically the 7 spot against righties, which we played plenty. He was batting number 2, I believe, against lefties. And there was basically a lineup against lefties and a lineup against righties. Will Benson would bat second against righties, and he would bat, eighth, or I think it was against lefties. Certain things like that would change. Candelario was in the 4-hole, and Christian Encarnacion Strand was in the 3-hole. And that stayed the same even while those 3 and 4 hitters were slumping. And Elly and Spencer Steer in the 6 and 7 spot were your best hitters on the team. But a lot of good that does when your 3 and 4 hitters aren't getting on, and the 6 and 7 guys can't drive them in, and the 3 and 4 hitters aren't driving guys in. But we made the point that it was still so early. Whatever. He finally made some moves. Do we have any thoughts on the whole lineup drama? People on Twitter were complaining about that too. Why wasn't he changing it sooner? How do you balance like letting these guys figure their shit out versus like, okay, Spencer Steer was the hottest player on the planet and he batted 7th for way too long. What do we do there?
Well, I kind of take from it the Trevor Plouffe's thought, and he played some years, he played some games in professional baseball, and just knowing that your name is going to be in the same spot in the lineup every day. I'm checking the stats right now, and we'll go ahead and show it on screen here. But I believe Sess has been in the 3-hole every game, and he's played every game. So look, you see Sess has played every game in the 3-hole. Candelario before that change was in the 4-hole every game. Catcher spot was either 8 or 9 every game. Elly has consistently been 6. And I think that's fine for Elly. I'm fine with letting him just, really work through everything he's going through at the plate in that 6 spot, because you're not putting too much on him by making him hit top 3. And he can really start that 7, 8, 9. The other thing too, though, Don, is that I like putting Steer at cleanup, but I kind of wonder if they'd consider moving India out of leadoff just for a series or something. Maybe you put Benson up there to start, just because he has not really looked that great so far this year.
What, he struck out 3 times today, all looking?
Well, I mean, I'm sorry. He did walk 4 times on that Friday night against the Red Sox.
That's true.
Yeah, Steve, I think that's even though we're still in a small sample size, I think that's really recent sample size. I don't have the game log in front of me, but I think India had a solid start to the season. Let's pull up the game logs on that. I want to validate that thought here, because I think he's having a solid season. He's having a rough stretch just in the last week or so. But I think he loves hitting in the leadoff spot. I think that is a place where he thrives. And every player is going to have a little up and down. So
yeah, he has not had a hit since last Wednesday. Is that right? So he's not had a hit in 6 games.
Okay, so he was hot the first week.
He was like 0 for his last 22 on the TV broadcast today, or 0 for his last 21, something like that.
Ooh,
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
so the first 5 games or so he played really well, and then since then he hasn't been great. Do you move him out of that spot? Maybe. I don't know. I think he is most confident in that leadoff spot, though. I think he just needs to figure it out from there. As frustrating as that is, and hopefully he can get back to walking a little bit. I think when you get in slumps, You want to be too patient at the plate sometimes because you're trying to just get on base, especially as a leadoff hitter. He definitely feels that burden. Like, I got to get. You've literally heard him say, like, I got to get on base for my team. And as a result, maybe you're taking pitches with 2 strikes that you really shouldn't because you're just kind of hoping for a walk because you don't trust your bat. But he's got to work through that. And I don't know how else to say it, but I think he needs to work through that and swing the bat more freely. And just like, even if it means you're striking out swinging, I'd rather have that than striking out looking.
Yeah.
I don't know. In a perfect world, yeah, move him down while he figures it out and move someone else up there. But knowing him as a player and his how he does thrive when he's confident and trusted, and I think David Bell continuing to put him in the 1 spot might help him get back there quicker.
So this is interesting to me too. Look at his home and away splits right now. I mean, 8 games each, but 760 OPS at home, 370 on the road. So maybe he just gets back home, gets some home cooking, and gets to hit at Great American Ballpark, and he'll be just fine.
Home cooking, baby.
I agree, though, Don. I don't think you should take him out of the lineup, but it was just like at least a consideration, just because you're trying to continue winning ball games, but I think you have to at least keep those 3 guys stable for at least until, God forbid, one of them gets hurt or one of them needs an off day. By the way, haven't really needed an off day for these guys so far yet, which I like because I don't really like players taking off days when there's a game. I mean, it's going to happen. Nobody's going to play 162. I'm not trying to be old man saying like, be an Iron Man, play every game. But I do like that we try to put our most competitive lineup out there every day.
Absolutely. Before we kind of go through the next 2 weeks, of the schedule, I want to touch on some injuries real quick. So I'm just going through the Reds injury report. CES was out. I think that was just illness. I think he's going to be fine.
Yep. Candelario or Cess?
Both of them were out today for illness.
Cess was yesterday. Candelario was
No,
today.
Candelario was out last night.
Yeah, Candelario was out last night from illness too.
So maybe they got the flu bug going there.
Yeah. Either way, hopefully those guys are back soon.
Ate some bad sushi or something.
I don't love Santiago Espinal being a regular starter. I don't think he deserves that.
That's less than ideal.
We'd love for him to prove me wrong there, but yeah, that's not great. Ian Jabot should be back soon. I think he's doing some rehab appearances in AAA.
I heard he's been getting kind of roughed up in AAA.
Well,
from what I understand,
he and Sam Mull are on rehab stints, and even at very least, I'd rather have if guys that do have options need if we pitch a lot, we have one of those stretches where the bullpen's working hard. You can send one of those guys down, bring up a guy like Ian Jabot or Sam Mull when they're ready. The depth is great to have there. So we're getting some relievers back. TJ Friedel should be back early May. I think early May is the idea. So we're looking at least a couple more weeks there. Man, we could use his bat now though. Just missing that extra bit of depth in the roster right now, especially when you slump a little bit. I don't know if you had any more updates on TJ, but it sounds like he's on track for May.
Yeah, there was a little bit of miscommunication with a MLB trade rumors post. They said that he had a setback, but it was still his original timetable. The player TJ thought he may have been able to come back earlier than that, but they kept his original timetable, which I'm fine with. It's a long season. You're hoping to get more than just this year out of TJ Friedel, obviously. So I'm fine with letting him just stay back and continue to work because we need him for the longer run. And I just don't like sending injured guys out there. I mean, we saw what happened with Jesse Winker when we sent him back out there and when he was injured. And
right.
By the way, shout out to him. He's kind of been resurgent this year. I really liked what I've seen from him so far. But
good for him.
He did lose like 2 good years there of his career just because he tried to play hurt. So I'm reticent to try and let young guys play through injury because they're still developing. They're still trying to become who they are as professional baseball players. So I'm fine with letting TJ sit as long as those legs and those bunts are ready to go when he's back. Like, let him sit as long as he needs
Hell
to.
yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Hey, speaking of bunts, did Elly abandon the bunt after the first week of the season? Where's that been?
I saw him attempt one last weekend, but yeah, he has kind of gone away from it. I think once he found his power stroke, everybody's like, okay, since
True.
he looked
Yeah.
into the eclipse, then he's been all good.
I guess that's fair. He's hit like 5 home runs since his last successful bunt attempt, so I guess I'm okay with that.
Since the eclipse, yeah.
Yeah, the eclipse, right.
Yeah.
Since the eclipse.
Very good.
Stare into the sun, kids.
Out with the bunt, in with the 450-foot homers.
Yes,
So
yes.
good.
I mean, I don't dislike the ability to bunt, right? But I just dislike making Elly do that. Like, let Stuart Fairchild do that. Let TJ Friedel, when he comes back, do that. Let your guys that may not be always capable of hitting 450-foot home runs do that. Like, most efficient play in baseball from the offensive standpoint is just hitting the ball over the wall. Let Elly do that. Let those other guys who may not have as much power, Rob, just continue to bunt and get on base that way. Get on base for Elly by bunting.
Cause chaos.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah.
That is my favorite type of ball, by the way, chaos ball. I love when the Reds do that.
Yeah. Hey, it's fun. We could use a little bit of that in the next. Maybe that'll help you. That's the kind of stuff that get those comebacks that we had. I feel like we're always crazy things were happening. It's not like we just had a bunch of home runs. The Rally Red Legs thrive on chaos ball.
Rally Reds, baby.
All right, let's look at the schedule coming up. Steve just pulled it up there for those watching the video on YouTube, right, Steve?
Yes. Check us out on YouTube. We'll be putting out some clips as well on Spotify, Apple, but YouTube, we are starting to upload more videos, so definitely go check us out there.
All right, Reds Country Radio on all platforms. Love it. ATBBTTR, Reds Country Radio on all podcasting platforms. There you go.
Good job.
So we got the Angels at home this weekend, followed by the Phillies at home during the week, and then going to the Texas to play the Rangers, and then the Padres. Another kind of West Coast trip there, or a half West Coast trip. Those are some solid teams, but puts the pressure on the Angels series. Got to at least win that series. I'd love to sweep them. Any thoughts on the upcoming stretch of games here?
Would love to take 2 out of 3 from the Angels, get some home cooking, get a good get-right series under our belts before they have to take on the Phillies for 4. I believe they took 2 out of 3 from the Phillies to start the season, correct? Yes, they did.
Yeah.
See if we can take another series from the Phillies early on to get them out of the way before they get hot in like July and August like they usually do. Texas, the defending champs, see what they're all about before we head out west and meet the Friars.
Yeah, going to face off against our guy Michael Lorenzen in that first game in Texas. I'm interested in some of the pitching matchups this weekend. Lodolo and Anderson. We do miss your guy Don Reed Detmers. He will not pitch in Cincinnati. So
yeah, he's pitched tonight.
Okay.
He's had a really good start to the season. Wow.
Yeah, he's probably their best pitcher. So I'm fine with missing him. I do like watching him.
That's another sneak peek for you guys on the betting apps. If you see Reed Detmer's strikeout total and it's under 8, you should take it.
Take it? Okay. Under 8. Take the under or take the over?
No. Take the over if the number is under. If it's 7.5 or lower.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Yeah.
You should take it. I think it was like 6.5 today, and I hit that one. He's at 4. They're pitching right now. He's at 4 Ks through 5, so he's a little lower this time. But generally, that's going to be a good bet for it. He had like 12 Ks the other day.
Nice.
He's been great.
Oh wow.
They're playing the Rays, and the Rays just they do everything well. They're not as good this year, but we'll get them later on in the season. I am interested though in the pitching matchups. Suarez for the Phillies has been pretty good this year. I think we win against Sanchez last. No, he was game 1. We basically get the same 3 guys that we got in Philly in Cincy this upcoming.
We see Wheeler again.
Yeah, got to see Wheeler day game on that Thursday. 2 starts for Nick Lodolo in this upcoming homestand. So if you're interested in watching a good like a pitcher really just blow some guys away, go definitely see him. And I'm interested too in how we'll do in that Texas San Diego swing, because like you said, like you both said, those are two competitive teams. Padres have kind of started the year pretty good this year. I've been kind of impressed. They took a series against the Dodgers. I think they took the series against the Brewers. Did you guys see the Brewers crowd, by the way? Like there was like nobody
Sparse.
there. I was, I mean, I'm far be it from a Reds fan in April to talk about crowds, but I've honestly I hadn't seen it like that since like the Brewers were really bad in the mid 2010s. Like it was kind of surprising, honestly, to see that crowd.
Did they have bad weather?
Well, they're in a dome.
They're in the dome.
Right.
I mean, it's possible that they had bad weather, but I don't know how that would affect, like, I guess it would affect getting to the game. Yeah. But it's Wisconsin. They've figured all that stuff out. So
true. They're used to dealing with that.
So, but yeah, it was really interesting to see that, and the Padres just kind of took care of business this week there. So it's two rough series, but if you're gonna win these, like, you've got to beat the bad teams, of course. But I think those 10 games will say a lot. And then
you got to find a way to take series against the good teams too. Beating up on the bad teams might get you to a record that could sneak you into the playoffs. But then, the Dodgers and the Braves of the world are going to absolutely pound you into the ground.
Yeah. Well, and then we had a better record on the road last year than we did at home. So I'm more interested to see if that continues, or if both records, if the home record improves and the road record continues. So I'm really looking forward to it, man. I think like that's just that's how I'm trying to watch this team this year. Obviously, they're young, and we are very excited about them, but it's interesting to see how they'll respond to some of this adversity. And I think if you look at it, it's all about perspective, right? If you just change your perspective on how you look at these things, maybe you will be disappointed if they, have a losing season this year. I would be, for sure. I'm not saying that to be like all uber positive all the time. I would definitely be disappointed if that happened, but it's not just about this year. It's about the next 3, 4, 5 years that you have these guys, all these young guys, under still arbitration or pre-arb contracts. And this is the time to see what they do and how they develop and how they continue to come together as a team. And I do think that they're a good team. They're kind of a middle of the pack team right now, if you just look at anybody's power rankings or, just any standings. But they've won some games so far. I think if they continue to take care of games against bad teams and then win, a couple of series against these good teams, I think vibes will be fine again.
Absolutely. Rob, are you going to any of the games in the upcoming homestand?
Not really planning on it right now. No. Always a possibility, though. Always a possibility. I'm certainly not going to count it out. Usually when I go to games, it's more of like a day before situation. I'll get on the MLB at-bat app or the ballpark app or just like StubHub, and I'll just start cruising, see if there's anything cheap available. And typically I'll pull the trigger the night of or the day before, typically.
My brother invited me. Sorry, my brother invited me to the Tuesday night game this upcoming week. So I'll be experiencing the old cheap beer night there and try to make it into work the next day, no problem. But yeah,
there you go. I'm actually thinking about maybe sneaking off and catching a game this weekend in Cleveland. They're playing the A's, and I've never seen a game in Cleveland. Trying to mark that park off my list of ones. I'm trying to make it to all 32 parks at some point. And I haven't been to like Cleveland or Pittsburgh or Detroit or St. Louis or any of the close ones yet. I've been to some like real oddball ones like Dodger Stadium, but like trying to knock that off my list. So I may scurry away for a game and come back. So we'll see where that goes, but definitely will have my ear to the ground on the Redlegs for sure.
Cleveland's not bad. It's all right.
It looks cool.
And it's that area that's near the ballpark is kind of cool too now, isn't it? You couldn't always say that, but they've done some good stuff there.
It should be a lot of fun too. With I think are the Cavs the home team in that playoff series? I haven't really followed them.
Truthfully, I haven't followed the Cavs since they won in 2016. After they won in 2016 and LeBron left for the second time, I was kind of over it.
All I know is that they're in the playoffs, and I figured that since the playoffs start this weekend, there might be like a home game on Saturday or Sunday or whenever you plan to go. So go to the Harry Buffalo, Rob. Shout out.
Buffalo.
Yeah, it's right by
There
the
you go.
stadium and the casino there. So
Cool.
pregame drinks at the casino and then head on over to the Jake.
Yep.
So
Sounds good.
Nice.
I'm Donnie, I'm figuring out my plans for when the Reds come out to Arizona. I think I'm going to go on 5-1-3 day here because that's the start of the series against the D-backs. So I don't know. Maybe you'll see me on TV. Maybe I'll be up in the club section. We're still figuring stuff out. There's a Costco deal for D-backs tickets where it's like 2 tickets for $80 and you get in the club section. So I don't know if that includes like all the amenities or if you still have to like buy food and shit, but I don't know.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
Gonna try, see what happens. So
seems like that's another great ballpark, Chase Field.
What do you think, Rob?
Chase Field, very cavernous. It felt very cavernous.
Yeah, it is
very because like it felt like I was like in some like a big like warehouse, and it was just very like echoey and kind of odd feeling. But I believe that. But my only other dome stadium experience, actually I had 2. I went to Houston and I went to the Trop. My previous dome stadium experience to that was the Trop. That was the last dome I've been to, and that's completely different than any other dome I've been to.
Yeah, Donnie, you might have to catch a game out here. It's interesting. I will say that. Like, it's not the same as GABP. Obviously, I think that's still my favorite. I really like PNC, Rob. Like, you should definitely get out there. But,
I've kind of mapped out a couple different weekends this summer where they're playing like day games on a Sunday or a night game on a Saturday. Just thinking about just shooting out one day, going to a game, maybe staying the night and driving back, kind of thing.
Nice. Yeah. I will say though, like I got to go to Chase twice last year when the building was packed. Like Rob and I went for that Mexico game and USA Mexico game, and I got to
that was crazy.
The Dodgers D-backs game 3 with the 4 home runs in that one inning. It gets loud in there. Like I that's why I do like a dome stadium for that. I'm sorry.
The USA Mexico atmosphere, that was like the craziest like sports atmosphere I think I've ever been a part of.
Yeah. Robbie, another note for you there. We should look at when the Reds are in St. Louis. I've got a cousin that just moved out there. Not that we want to stay with them, but it'd be someone we could hang out with, grab a beer with, and show us around the city a little bit, and go catch a game as well. So that could be fun.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, June 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th. They're at St. Louis, Don. So
that could be a good time to go.
Just say the word, buddy.
4-game set, ballpark village, some T-Ravs, some Bud heavies. Like I think you'd be. It sounds like a hell of a time.
I'm in.
Hell yeah!
All right, boys, this has been fun. I think we hopefully we breathed some sense and some relaxation into the fan base here. I know our 24 listeners are feeling a little better after this. But hey. This has been fun. I think we're in for a good stretch here. You know, that was a tough series. The boys are going to be coming back home. I don't see – for some reason, I feel like we're going to play better at home this year than we did last year. I think that is going to be kind of a cure for us rather than like, oh, they're finally going away. Maybe they'll play better. We're going to win some series at home this year, and I'm excited to see how they do in this stretch. So with that without any final thoughts, this has been Reds Country Radio. Let's go Redlegs.
Go Reds, baby.
Go Reds. Beat the fuck out of the Angels.
There you go.